Act 1, Echoes of Eternity. A celestial expanse of glistening hues, stars, and galaxies seem to drift and fade in and out of existence. Every color known to the naked eye, and new ones unbeknownst to the palate of man, explode into radiant spirals of kaleidoscopic brilliance. The souls of the Orvans journey ever forward through the annals of time itself, becoming witness to the very tragedies that had befallen the true Earth, seeing firsthand the incursion as if they too were on the battlefield, oft reliving the lives of warriors, both human and devilkin alike. For this superlunary chronology discriminates not. In this time of reflection, the essence of each sibling slowly began to alter in both shape and size. Contorting with each image they absorb, Caelia's soul played an adagio of resentment as it commenced to blacken and conceal within the very shadows of her heart. Elthis burned a fiery comet full of vivacity barreling into the unknown. Gratia emitted a vigorous jade glow at a length that surmounted and fused with the tail of her brother's bolide. In a garish, thunderous collision, the Orvans, made whole anew, had arrived at their destination, Hell. Act 2, Solemn Damnation. I'm going to be sick, Celia proclaimed upon arrival, rushing to the nearest chasm as she emesis. An unnatural warmth envelopes her as she leans over to and realizes that she just fed a river of lava. We made it, I see. Elthis surveyed the sights that lay before him. Never in my wildest nightmares had I envisioned stepping foot here. He walked over to Caelia's side and peered into the molten valley. Looking back, his eyes met with those of Gratia as they both nodded to one another. The landscape was barren. Jagged mountains towered the background of a hideous portrait of depravity, kissed by clouds of flame and torrential storms that spew forth darkness, warping the scene should one view it too long. Afore them, a vast land devastated by time's neglect. Crags and fissures as far as one could see, giving birth to a maelstrom of fiery winds throughout. Echoes of screams, tortured and in pain, softly nuzzled within their ears. Complete emptiness, not a living creature in sight. Eltis spoke as he cradled his sister's hand in his own to help her up. At that moment, Gratia gestured to them both, announcing a storm nearing their position, and how they should make haste in the direction away from it to find shelter. Grand idea, Celia took a facetious tone. Let us find shelter and take solace from the coming storm in a cave in hell. It could be worse. Think of it as an adventure from one of your novels, and you're the heroine of which the people sing your praise. Elthis chimed, full of wanderlust. Your ability to be so optimistic at even a time like this befuddles me yet, she replied. With a sense of urgency, they began trudging through the marred valley, stepping through a muck that gave off a horrendous stench with each disturbance. A cavern soon emerges from the fog-laden horizon. There, sisters, our refuge for now, Elthis bolstered as they pushed forward, storm biting at their heels. The Orvans made camp deep in the cave to bide time for the passage of the storm. Well, we needn't want for warmth, and I doubt need to worry of demons for that measure. Seems as though this realm holds vacancy as its prize now, Celia shouted as she nestled in a corner of their temporary dwelling. Wake me if you would once the storm has passed, so that we may better surveil our surroundings. A simple nod was given by her siblings as she drifted out of consciousness. Unable to make a fire, lacking resource, Elthis decided to take point near the entrance where the light of the storm flickered. Gratia, too, decided to lay down and pass the time. After what seemed like half a day, the torrent had not let up, nor was it wont to. Feeling the unnaturality of their predicament, Elthis decides to return and wake his sisters with a new plan. Time to rise, you two, he playfully notioned, voice echoing deeper and deeper. That gives me a thought. What say you two we go further in and see where it leads? I see no tell of the storm letting up. Gratia rose groggily and agreed, although Celia wasn't in her self-made cubby. Now, where has she gone off to? He began to search frantically. Can you not see me, brother? A voice sparked from the distance. Over here, Celia shouted, jumping up and down. There's a pathway that leads further in. Let's follow it. Puzzled by the situation, Eltis claimed, Sister, it's pitch as night within here. See you I cannot. How is it that you found a path on your own? Pitch as night? Brother, you must be mistaken. Everything is as luminous as it were outside. What a marvel, this cave, if you truly cannot see in here. She runs over and takes their hands. I shall guide you both. Stay close now. A chain link is made. In the front, Celia followed her brother, and at the rear is the eldest. As they begin a new trek, Gratia worriedly squeezes Elthis' hand, and, in a hushed tone, he says, I know, and whispers again to himself, I know. Act 3. The Fracturing. Nimbly. Advancing, avoiding each trap and hurdle, Celia navigate her kin through the shadows unharmed. You really can see in here, Elthis blurted in disbelief. It is as though the very shadows guide me. She says, betwixt an unseen smirk. There, an opening just ahead. As they draw near, light starts to trickle its way into the cavern, filling the youngest and oldest Orvant with a sense of relief. Upon reaching the exit, their vision is met with the spectacle of a massive bridge above a swirling abyss, darkened hues of velvet spiraling into a mist of nothingness, further than they dare fall. Best tread carefully, I'd hate to have to jump and save you should you fall. Elthis chuckled, voice weary. Carefully pursuing the other end of the bridge, towers begin to crest their view. Is this a city in hell? Our new home, Celia proclaimed. We lay claim and rebuild humanity starting here. But what of the prophecy? Hearkened Elthis, followed by a glare of determination from Gratia. Prophecy, you say? Celia scoffs. Was it prophesied that we live in a lie for all those years? To bear the burden of being orphans? To live and almost die in squalor with no one but ourselves to depend on? Is this how a long-dead god treats his prophesied children? Oh, stop me now if you believe otherwise. Celia, Elthis interjected, you mustn't be this way. Think of the stakes at hand. We've been chosen to liberate mankind from its hell-sent oppressors. Why are you so quick to rebuke what we now know to be truth? Overwhelmed with emotion, like a well flooding in a squall, Gratia stepped between the two squabbling younger siblings and screamed, Stop fighting! Instantly a hush swept over them all, as Gratia clasped her fingers over her mouth in disbelief. The shouting match had abruptly ended, although they did want to continue their feuding. They found themselves completely unable. Simultaneously turning towards her, bowed their heads and recited in unison, As you command. Upon raising their heads, thoughts in a blur, Celia was the first to speak. And what was that? Dear sister, glad I am to hear your voice for the first time. What power have you cast upon us? Tears rushing down her cheek, Gratia swiftly turned away and ran eastward. Way to go. You've upset her, snarled Elthis before setting off after her. Falling upon deaf ears as he disappeared into the distance, Celia yelled angrily, I've upset her. Celia, deciding it best not to follow her siblings, Celia began exploring the western side of the city, muttering to herself all the while about what just occurred. Why am I in the wrong? She asked as though she was waiting for a reply. And one was given. With a voice as hollow as the night, unsettling and full of grit. Right and wrong is in the eye of the beholder, for it was they who retreated as you stood your ground. Mayhap they were wrong, and in fleeing in cowardice further emphasizes this point. Who goes there? she queried in a startled shriek. I am, you think, for we are, the voice creaked. Riddles. Celia began studying every direction, nook and cranny within her vicinity. With you always, it whispered, down. Eyes wide with anticipation and fear, she peered down at her feet, only to see two glistening crimson eyes at the head of her own shadow, instinctively jumping away onto a nearby half-wall, only to see those same eyes affixed to her shadow. Gratia and Elthis, vision askew from the cascade of tears, blindly running at her top speed, she trips and catches herself on all fours. She wipes her eyes and raises her head to find herself near a fountain, stained with what looks like old blood, surrounded by statues of unimaginable figures of demonic stature. Pulling herself up, she walks the perimeter of the giant water feature and slowly circles, deep in thought, running her fingertips along the smooth obsidian structure. Gratia, heavens, where are you? Gratia! The voice of Elthis is heard, yet no mind paid to it. Unwilling to call out to it, and too scared to attempt, she continues her circular musings. Louder and more desperate the bellows of her brother become, until she is met with a touch on the back of the shoulder. There you are at last, he softly says, as she shies away from his presence. Oh, Gratia, his voice and demeanor unnaturally soft. I'm not mad in the slightest. I'm just glad that I found you unharmed. That was your power, wasn't it? Awoken from the trial. The power to compel? Her gaze slowly lifted to his eyes for a second, then dropped downward towards his chest, and slightly to the side, then nodded. That's why you still haven't spoken since the trial, I gather, then? You fear your ability, he pried. After a deep breath, she stood tall and gestured to him. And you? My trial was that of the penitent. He cleared his throat shamefully. I know not what my power yet is. Having lost all his rage whilst searching for Gratia, Eltis came to the realization, oh no, Celia. He sighed. Celia is being overcome by shadows in this place. Now, full understanding of the severity of the latent energies that permeate within this domain, that his sister is alone, lost in hell, being consumed by the shadows that be. Act 4. Sorrow's Bitter Resolve. Racing through the concourse of hell, the two siblings find themselves at wits' end, searching for Celia. Across inlaid rivers flowing with blood set ablaze, through gardens of petrified, long-dead wilted flowers stemming from the decay of corpses. Finally, to a palace within the heights of the city they wander, only to be greeted by a haunting sound that resembled laughter. The laughter of Celia, shouted Eltis. You're okay, aren't you? A stark silence soon fell. Moments after, the cackling reverberations ceased. And, what does it matter to you? Always the afterthought I see. Celia, the second sister. Celia's voice darted at them like daggers from her perch on a vacant throne. No, it isn't like that. We were at ends and... He hesitated. Gratia was in despair. I didn't want her to get lost or harmed. In turn, leaving me alone in hell? Her daggers grew to swords. That is your intention, is it not? Both of you. Won't you stay with me? We can make this a haven all our own, and in time invite the whole of humanity here, away from the demons. Surely they wouldn't have want to return here. Is there no swaying you, sister? Pleaded Elthis. Come with us and do what you know to be right. His words becoming more and more emboldened. With our wisdom, with our powers, with our love, we can retake Earth, though through trial and tribulation we may yet see it done. Together. Together, she whispered, before shouting in a calamitous roar that shattered the nearest stained glass windows. No! Now, begone! As if on cue to her protest, a miasma of shadow menacingly rose from her being and rushed towards her siblings, darkening their view of her and, with a hammer's force, struck Elthis in his chest as he leapt in front of Gratia to protect her from harm. The force strong enough to knock them backwards through the archways and closing the gate behind them. In the same moment he was struck, before the closure of the gate. A banshee's wail like they've never heard before came from Celia. Realizing that the pain he felt was cast upon her, yet unknowing to what degree, Elthis tried with all his might to open the door once more, yet to no avail. Fingers wrought with blood from prying at the structure, Gratia pulled him into her embrace. Knowing that for now the once cherished sister, now succumbed to darkness, is lost to them. After sobbing in her bosom for a while, he attempted to regain his composure. "I tried. Damn it all, I tried," he screamed, after a pause and a long drawn-out sigh. "No, we must go on. We may yet succeed. Just the two of us. For I think I understand the depths of mine own power." Gratia pulled him in tighter, filling him with her warmth as she takes one last look at the giant gateway that now barred access and kept her from her younger sister, and sweetly whispered, "I implore you, live on." Book 2, End.